So on Wednesday morning, about 11:30 a.m. Paris time, masked gunmen attacked the offices of Charlie Hebdo, a weekly satirical newspaper based out of Paris. They killed 12 people, 10 journalists or cartoonists, and 2 police officers. At the time, it's not known exactly who the attackers were, but based on the leads, they were probably members of a radical Islamic sect who were angered by Charlie Hebdo's consistent mockery of their faith. In 2011, the offices of Charlie Hebdo were actually firebombed after they released an issue that was guest edited by the Prophet Muhammad, whose depiction alone is considered a no-no in a lot of strains of the Muslim faith. When something like this happens, it's natural, I suppose, to react emotionally and to want to twist that emotion into a kind of righteous sadness. But when this happens, it's easy to overstate things on both sides. I mean, already I see people calling these cartoonists of a magazine that most people were Googling this morning sort of brave canon saints fighting on the behalf of freedom of expression. But I would say that in the immediate aftermath of events like this is the most important time to consider how we're reacting to them and think through what they might mean. Already in France, we have French officials calling these barbaric attacks and resorting to standard narratives of terrorism, and it didn't take long for Canada's Prime Minister Stephen Harper to follow suit. I feel like words like this, even the word terrorism, certainly the word barbaric, tend to do little else beyond fueling a sort of generalized climate of Islamophobia in the West, which tends to confuse the actions of a few confused militants with those of an entire faith. Not to get all Christopher Hitchens about it, but I'd say that it is important to criticize, maybe even mock religion, however mercilessly and however stupidly. But if this is something we're going to do, it's also important to understand the risks. It's devastatingly sad, of course, that these journalists were killed and, nobody would try to justify that. But I think that when you try to turn them into sort of canon saints in a battle of free speech for, doodling Muhammad's genitals, you do nothing more than sort of bogusly raise the stakes. At the end of the day, if some pranksterish, even juvenile cartoonists were killed, that's still a tragedy and that's still very much worth mourning.